Welcome to Women Don't Do That, where we empower you with inspiration, knowledge, and skills to redefine your boundaries and unleash your potential. I'm Stephanie Minton, founder and CEO of Beacon North Strategies and your guide. Small town girl turned CEO while navigating career, motherhood, ADHD, and chronic migraines. Our conversations range from interviews with visionary women to solo episodes filled with actionable insights. We are your hub for turning what ifs into let's go. Are you ready to redefine your possible? Let's get started. I am really excited to be doing this Q&A episode. It is the first one that I've ever done, and thank you to everybody who took time to comment online and send me messages with questions for today's episode. You'll have to tell me afterwards if you like it, because I can definitely do more. I thought I would start off with a quick life update, maybe with a few things. I think I may have already mentioned this before, but I have turned brunette. For those who are longtime listeners, you will know that I had blonde hair for a long time, and now you've probably seen it quite dark, and I had pretty damaged hair, and so it was time to give my hair a break, and it will be brown for a while. I don't know if I'll go back eventually, but just to give my hair some health, this is what is happening, and everybody seems to really like it. I did a poll on Instagram this week, and everybody came back saying that they prefer the brown. So it's here at least for now. What else is going on? It is time to get ready for Christmas. I have to say, for me, starting early as a busy working mom is something that I find really helpful. And so I am starting early. We recently had Halloween, and that was weird. My kids are both a tween and a teenager, and they don't want you going around with them. And so my husband and I were home together. It feels like for the first time in 15 years. So that was really weird for us. And ended up being a nice evening. We had a fire going. We lost our power for a bit. We watched some TV. Then my husband went to play hockey, and I did online Christmas shopping and watched a movie by myself. And so it was weird, a bit sad, and also nice at the same time. It's weird to kind of work through all those emotions as your kids get older. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. So the first question that people asked was, how do you manage so many brands at the same time? That is a good question. Many of you will know I have Women Don't Do That, which is why you're here today. I have an online mentorship academy called Beacon North Mentorship Academy. I do an event with a friend of mine called Next Gen, which is professional development for people in the public affairs space. And I am the founder and CEO of a lobbying company in Canada, which is called Beacon North Strategies. And we do federal and some provincial government relations in Canada. And I have a team there that I'm running as well. So life is busy. So how do I manage it all? Well, I'm getting better at using tools like Asana, and that kind of comes and goes a bit, but those tools do help me a lot. I have staff that supports me now, so it's not just all me by myself, and that makes a big difference. And quite frankly, if I'm honest, you're probably going to get a lot of authenticity today. It's an area where I'm trying to always do better. And so that is something that I'm working through. If I was to give advice to someone else, I might say, bite off less to start with and get that running smoothly before you bite off more, which is what I'm trying to do now, is not bite off more while I make everything else run more smoothly. And so that's how things are going. Working remotely, I need tips. What is a must to be successful at home? So I would say one thing that really helps me is keeping somewhat working hours. I have ADHD, and I think I also probably have a bit of workaholism. So I actually even have a timer to remind me to stop working and to start making dinner, because I could work for hours. I don't know if a lot of other people have that problem, but I certainly do. I also have an office in my house, one of the bedrooms. We have four bedrooms, and one of them is an office. And I know that's a luxury that not everybody is going to be able to have, but whether it's a corner in your house or for me, that office really makes a big difference. When I step in and out of that office and shut that door, it really helps me make that mind shift change. How do you balance work and family? Did you have a change in your career when you had kids? Okay, so I have always worked in government relations, which is a very unforgiving career for working parents. And when my kids were little, I worked a few different places. One of them was really challenging, and I did end up leaving that job. How do I balance it? It's always been a challenge. I remember having like things that I would do, like triggers to help me make the switch. So when I work downtown, I would think when I step off this bus, I need to switch into mom. I need to bring up my energy. I need to smile. I'm coming home. This is my time with my family and my kids, and really trying to like make that shift. I have also chosen to create companies and to be an entrepreneur and to own my time differently. And that really helps with the work-life balance because I can integrate it more. If my child has a soccer game in the middle of the day or I need to drive to help with the school for football, I can integrate those things. It's not easy because as a founder, there's always work to do and work never ends. And so you have to be really intentional about that, but you can make the two work. If anything, more recently, I find myself having to push back and say, you know what, during work hours, I need to focus a little bit more on work and I can do the other things, but once in a while. So stepping back and not being the person all the time to do all of the things, because even though I do have more flexibility, I still am working and growing a company and have employees. And in fact, my one of my kids actually became an intern for me this year. So she is also an employee. Did my career change when I had kids? I think one of the challenges and benefits, right, is when you have kids in your career. And I had my kids when I was pretty young. And for some people, that might not be the right thing for them. But for me, it actually worked out really well because when you're in those earlier stages of your career, my kids were little and I didn't really find that it hurt my career a lot by taking that time off with the kids. Also, I know we have global listeners, but in Canada, there's more of a culture of acceptance of like mat leaves and people taking time off for kids and protecting people's jobs for when they come back to work after kids. There's laws around that. And so things are a little bit different, I would say here, but of course it changes. And the things you care about change too. In my career, there's lots of receptions and things in the evening, and I loved doing those when I was younger. And I had found as I got older and you have kids and you're working full time, so you don't get as much time with them. I preferred going to those less and less. And so I do still go, and when I go, I actually really love it, but I do less, and it's not as important to me in terms of just what I enjoy doing as I don't enjoy it as much as when it was earlier in my career. What strategies do you recommend for developing better networking skills? So one of the things in my business is it requires a lot of networking. One thing I would say is to think ahead of time about some of, those everyday topics that you can talk to people about at events. Maybe you attended a conference and you can ask you, what session did you like best? Or you saw something in the news that you want to bring in that day. So try and think ahead of time about maybe three things that you can chat with people about, and that really helps. One strategy is just practice. It gets easier the more and more you do it, and you will have to make yourself uncomfortable. If you are wanting people to talk to, you're kind of there by yourself, you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, get in line for drinks and you can just talk to people there. That can be a great way to start conversations. And the other thing I would say is that if you really want to talk to somebody, you can stand in front of them, never behind. People sometimes will line up, they want to talk to somebody, they line up behind them. If there's, let's say, a speaker at a conference and you really want to talk to them, get in their way so they actually have to walk by you. Even if they're busy talking to the person to somebody, you will be the next person they walked by, not that line up behind them, right? So those are some tips. And networking skills is something we teach in the academy. So if that is of interest to you, you can hire us to teach something, or if we have an event that we're offering, you can join that as well. How did you grow your career so fast at a young age? So I have a love of learning, and I think that really helps because I'm always wanting to do better, learn new things, grow what I'm doing. And I think that has really served me well in my career. I took chances and I made bold moves. I changed jobs a lot. I jumped up the ladder by changing jobs, and I quit jobs to take different opportunities like running for politics for political nomination federally in Canada. And those things paid off. And so they're scary to do, but it is really what has made the difference. I advocated for myself in a pretty bold way. I was clear about what I wanted. I tried for jobs when I thought I was ready. And to be honest, for some of them, I probably wasn't even ready, but it positions you for that when you are ready, that they'll consider you, or they know that you're interested in those roles. The other thing I would say is that how you react if you don't get the role says a lot. So when somebody looks back at my career, they often think, "Oh my goodness, like you rose your career so quickly," and all of these things. And yet they don't see the no's along the way that happened as well, where I didn't get certain jobs that I applied for. I didn't get the more senior role the first time I applied for it, but I reacted really well when I didn't get it. And so one of the jobs I didn't get it the first time, but I did get it the second time, and it was actually remarked to me how well I handled that. I really was nice to the person who got it. I was helpful to them. I supported them. I was a team player. And the next time it came around, I got the job. The other thing I would say, in full transparency, how did I increase my career so fast? I worked really hard, and I also stayed up late at night. And so when we talk about work-life balance, I would come home, really give time to my kids, and then when they went to bed, especially when they were little, because they go to bed pretty early, our school started at 8. I would stay up late and work in the evenings. And, uh, I know you're not really supposed to hustle. I have mixed feelings about it because I have, some feelings about how that exhausted me. And at the same time, I feel like I have the career today because I put in some of that time. And so, my feelings on that waver a bit, but I feel like a lot of people who are really successful in their careers will say, "Oh, you shouldn't have to hustle." But they had to hustle to get there too. And, a lot of them will say, "Well, you don't have to hustle to get there." And they feel like they could have done it differently. And at the same time, they did hustle to get there. So it's a bit of a challenge, and I think there probably is some balance in there because the reality is it's also never actually worth your health to do that either. But I had my kids when I was younger, so I had some of that energy to do that stuff in the evening that I probably wouldn't have been able to have had that have happened later in my career. Another question that was asked is, "You always seem so confident. What is your secret?" I find this really interesting because there's lots of times where I actually don't feel confident, but somehow it just portrays that I am. One thing I would say is that I do really believe in my skill sets and my knowledge and that they have value. I also pick and choose when I interject. If I don't have anything smart or valuable to say, I am quiet. I don't just talk for the sake of talking, even though I do talk a lot. And now that I'm the boss, I don't have to worry about that stuff so much. Also, being prepared. You can not be the smartest in the room. You cannot be a person that has the most experience, but you can be prepared. And that is a reminder that was given to me that I still remember to this day from an interview from Marianne and Roseland, who was at the Economic Club at the time, and that was one of our early interviews. The other thing is, I don't really care that much what people think about me. And I think that makes a big difference. It just doesn't matter. I feel like earlier in my career it probably did, but I've worked in some really, really tough work environments. I've worked in mostly male-dominated fields, and I just don't care anymore what you think or say about me. I've had terrible things said about me and lies online when I ran for political office, and I just don't care anymore. And that makes a big difference. And I care even less now that I'm in my 40s. It's true what they say about entering those stages of your life. Another question that people had is what's the one ADHD strategy that's been a game changer? And I kind of laugh out loud on this one because my honest immediate answer is taking medication. But that's not going to be the answer for everybody. So timers is something that really helps me in alarms. It drives people crazy in my life, but it is how I function. I don't always listen to them, I have to say, which is part of what drives people crazy because I keep snoozing them. But for the most part, I rarely forget, for instance, a medication I have to take every evening for my migraines. And that is in large part to my timers. And so, as much as it annoys many people in my life, I will continue to do that. And again, if I am honest, that medication is the biggest game changer in my life. Another one that really helps me is exercise. How do you do all of this with chronic illness? Owning my own business definitely helps, but that was also done by design. So I part of the reason I opened my business was because of my chronic illness. That was some advice given to me from one of our other people that I interviewed, Kate Ryan, and she is also somebody who suffers from chronic migraines. And that, again, you control some of your own time. Part of the way I've built my business is that it's not so much time for money all the time. That's why my consulting firm looks at a little bit different than some of the other firms. We offer some other things, and part of that is to build in some of that flexibility and have different monetary items than just consulting. Having a team definitely helps. There's stress that comes with having a team, but there's also some really positive things like if I have a migraine and have to sign up for the afternoon, there's somebody that checks my email. There's somebody that can move meetings for me. I even have senior people that can go take those meetings for me. And I'm managed quite well in terms of my migraines. So I only have a few a month. And so it's not happening all of the time. The other thing I would say is that, quite honestly, when a migraine hits, there is no choice but to go to bed. So, for instance, sometimes you have a little bit of symptoms, like right now I do actually, but it's not that bad. But last night I had a really bad one, and I cognitively couldn't think, I couldn't focus. You start to feel nauseous. You don't see well through your eyes. You can just feel it coming. For me, it's often in the back of my neck, and you're getting worse and worse and worse. And then you get to excruciating pain. You can't have light, and you're in your bed in the dark. You physically cannot work. And so, quite honestly, like it's just like that's what has to be done is to actually take a rest. Trying to build in space. I'm not always good at this, but I do have a little bit of space where, if I needed to rest for an hour, I could do something like that. I probably need to do more of that. That's something I really struggle with. I was really good about it when I first started my business. But sometimes my body reminds me, like I said too, right? So it is an ongoing struggle. But I would say owning your own business has been the biggest game changer for me. And I also want people to know just that reminder that I didn't always. And it may not be possible for everybody listening that has a chronic migraine or a chronic illness situation. But it is possible for some of you. And that is what I decided to do. And it is one of the biggest game changers. But I do lots of things sick, and I really rest when I need to. and my family steps up as well because they are used to it as well. What's it like to meet ambassadors, ministers, and prime ministers? So, if you know anything about the type of work that I do in government relations and lobbying in Canada, I really get to do a lot of fun things, and I don't actually talk about it very much. It doesn't always feel good to talk about some of those pieces of the job in terms of, I don't know, I guess I grew up in a faith-based house, and there's this aspect of like being humble and anyways, it's an honor to do that kind of work and meet those types of people. It's fascinating. I think it's also a reminder that a lot of those types of jobs are about the titles and not about the people themselves, right? Like people are interested because they're a minister. When they're no longer a minister, people aren't really interested. I mean, some people are, of course. They're just everyday people in those roles. But it is really fascinating. A lot of them have done really interesting, important work and just have really interesting stories. And if you get to go to events at embassies, you learn about people's culture and often get to try the food. And there's just, I love the learning aspect and just being part of some of those conversations and in some of those rooms. And I really appreciate like the policy and the work behind some of the things that they do too, and the difference it makes. And I love being, part of those rooms and part of those conversations. And I have been to some really fun and fancy parties through those experiences as well. And that is pretty cool. And it feels like an honor. And the political geek in me is just really happy. For me, it's like meeting a celebrity. And they're not all Canadian, but I work in Canada mostly, and I deeply love my country and stress about the big national issues. And so those are really fun places for me to spend time. And I always just feel so happy and honored to spend time in those places. What is one boundary that protects your family life? So, one thing I would say is that I struggle with, but have been getting better at saying no. And I just say no sometimes. I guess it depends. Like if I can just if it's an online thing and you can decline, I just say no. Sometimes I'll just say no, I'm not available, and I don't over explain. People don't need all the details. People won't always understand your rationale. One of the other things I try to do that actually really helps is schedule out the things that you need or want to do. So for instance, I had scheduled out from like in sometime in October, I scheduled out like the beginning of November to the end of like into the New Year celebrations. What are all the different things that needed to be done on weekends? So that can be Christmas shopping, Christmas decorating, making, your Christmas traditions. Maybe you make Christmas cookies with your grandma every year. We tend to host a big New Year's party. When am I going to prep for that party? And like I schedule all of that out. So then when people say to me like, "Oh, can you do this on this day?" I already know. This is the only day this entire month that I have to decorate my tree with my family. So the answer is no. I can't do XYZ, right? And even for things like laundry, I'm starting to travel more for work. I need at least half a day, if not a day at home to just get reorganized. You're picking up the house, you're doing laundry, you're maybe doing food prep, you're just getting things done around the house, which I stress about and like to do, I think. And so I need that time. And so if somebody asks me to do something really fun and it's the only moment I have to do laundry, the likely answer is going to be no, because I really need that time. And so when I plan things out, it helps me see how much extra time I have or I don't. I used to do Women Don't Do That off the corner of my desk, right? It wasn't part of my work schedule. And so I really saw that more as my extracurricular. And I would just say no to people. Like they would ask me to go volunteer for this or be at this school council thing. And I would say no, like Women Don't Do That is something that's really important to me. I know that I'm contributing to something in the world for other people. This is how I give back. And I don't have time to do these other things because of it. It is kind of that one thing outside of my work and my family that I do, and otherwise it's a no. So sometimes creating some rules, values, spaces around those things can be really helpful because you can't be all things to all people. So for me, I do want to contribute to society. I want to do things, but I can't do all the things. I'll give you another example. I was asked to help with some stuff this year for my daughter's basketball team, from doing, helping with some social planning, but also doing fundraising. And to be honest, I'm sure they asked me because they know, given the work that I do, I would be good at those things. And what I said to them is, like, I can do the social stuff as long as it's not too many of them. And I can't do the fundraising because I don't have enough time and I won't be able to actually help you. I won't be able to do a good job. And so it's better for somebody else to do it. And you know what? Somebody has stepped up and is doing a great job of it. And so that's okay too. And that does mean sometimes you have to let things fall down, and that's okay too. So that wraps up our Q&A. If you liked it, I am happy to do another one again in the future. And if you're following us on social, then that is the best way to do that. I believe in the show notes, you'll be able to find the Women Don't Do That socials and my personal ones as well. And we have TikTok, Instagram, and would love to have you join us there. And that's how you'll find out about things like this in the future. I hope you have a fantastic week, and thanks for submitting your questions.
Thanks for joining us on Women Don't Do That. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating or review. Connect with us on Instagram at Women Don't Do That, and visit our website www.womendon'tdothat.com for more details. Join our Patreon to support our work. Find all of the links in the show notes. Remember, you have the power to transform your what ifs into let's go. Together, let's redefine your possible. Until next time. The opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Women Don't Do That, Stephanie Mitton, or affiliated brands.